A regularly scheduled program, Amanpour, momentarily, but first a couple of breaking stories we want to continue to follow for you. From the White House momentarily, President Barack Obama is expected to take to the podium there on the left side of the screen there. He'll be talking about the Iraqi elections that took place today. Polls have closed there in Iraq with upwards of 6,000 candidates on the various ballots as 50,000 voting booths were set up throughout that country. The president will be emerging momentarily, and we, of course, will bring those comments live. The hope is that perhaps this delay might also mean that President Barack Obama might be working in some other elements, perhaps some reaction to what we're understanding. Pakistani high intelligence sources are saying there has been an arrest in Karachi, Pakistan, of an American-born Adam Gadahn. You recognize him right there. He's been the spokesperson for Al-Qaeda for at least a couple of years. He's been on an FBI most wanted list since 2006. He was actually charged with treason, and there's been a $1 million reward out for information leading to his arrest. We understand from Pakistani sources now that he has been arrested in Karachi. However, we're still awaiting more details. U.S. intelligence officials are not yet ready to confirm. But again, we're going to be going to the White House momentarily. Perhaps the president might have a comment about that, as well as the national elections in Iraq. So let's go to our Reza Sayah, our international correspondent who's actually in Islamabad. He's been learning a lot about the arrest. And you know very well, and you've been studying for a long time, Adam Gadahn, and also the Pakistani intelligence forces, how they have worked very hard to establish and cement relations with the U.S. in the ongoing fight against terrorism.
Yeah, and it hasn't always been a good relationship between Islamabad and Washington, between the ISI, Pakistan's top spy agency, and the CIA. Over the past few years, there's been a lot of finger-pointing. Of course, the focus of Washington has been Afghanistan, but Pakistan playing a huge role in the U.S.'s success across the border, because we all know when Al-Qaeda wants to run and hide, when the Afghan Taliban want to run and hide, there's one place they come to, and that's Pakistan's tribal region. And that's why over the past few years, Washington has put a lot of pressure on Pakistani security forces, on Pakistan's spy agency, the ISI, to do more. There's been some suspicion even on Washington's part that perhaps Pakistani security forces, some elements within Pakistan's spy agencies, are perhaps supporting and helping the Afghan Taliban with the end goal of perhaps securing a friend, securing an ally in the Taliban once U.S. and international forces leave the area. But over the past couple of months, that criticism has been toned down from Washington, and that's because of the remarkable winning streak we've been seeing. I've been here in Pakistan for more than 2 years now, Frederica. I've never seen this much success by Pakistani security forces against the militants. A number of high-ranking Afghan Taliban leaders arrested since the beginning of the year, and now you have the arrest of Adam Gadahn, the American citizen who joined Al-Qaeda. According to a senior Pakistani government official, Gadahn arrested in the southern port city of these high-ranking militants arrested in Karachi. And that's an indication of how effective of a hiding spot this place is. And if anyone has been to Karachi, you know why. It's Pakistan's largest city. It is chaos there. It's very easy to get lost there. And that's perhaps why you've seen a lot of these militants go and hide there. Adam Gadahn, the latest militant to be arrested. We'll be eager to see if President Barack Obama comments on this arrest, because at this point, U.S. officials have not confirmed to CNN the arrest of Adam Gadahn. It has only come from a Pakistani senior government official, Federico.
And Reza, might there be other arrests imminent? And that is perhaps in part why even Pakistani officials are not saying much about the circumstances of this arrest?
Well, if the past 2 months are any indication, there will be more arrests. Again, we've seen at least 6 senior Afghan Taliban leaders, all members of the so-called Afghan Taliban Quetta Shura. These are senior Afghan Taliban leaders who fled the fighting in Afghanistan and went to Quetta and Baluchistan province and were directing and overseeing the fighting from Quetta. Almost half of those senior Taliban leaders have been arrested since the beginning of the year, and if that's an indication, there will be more arrests. There's still some left, but they're on a pretty good winning streak, and certainly Washington has praised this winning streak over the past couple of months.
Reza Sayed, thanks so much. Nick Robertson also with us. He's joining us from London. Nick, is there any way in which to surmise whether this might have been a cooperation, this arrest is a result of a cooperative effort of British forces, U.S. forces, Pakistani intelligence forces?
I think if it is going to be a cooperation of any, it's likely to be American and Pakistani. U.S. intelligence operatives really have the preponderance of electronic eavesdropping in the sort of northwest frontier province, the border area between Pakistan and Afghanistan. And we've seen that exhibited in a number of occasions recently, where we know that European intelligence agencies have had tip-offs about their nationals being in that border region, and those tip-offs have come from U.S. intelligence sources. And we're told, again, that cooperation between these different intelligence agencies has been critical. Now, it's been difficult in the past to get this effective cooperation with Pakistani authorities when it sort of comes to the moment of arrest. Pakistan is very, very sensitive to the issue and to be perceived as being seen as a lackey of the United States. So I think it would be reasonable to assume if there was cooperation between Pakistan and the United States at an intelligence level, it is most likely that on the ground, if this operation, as we understand, went ahead and captured Adam Gadahn, that it would have been Pakistani operatives on the ground. But you can be pretty sure that the United States operatives were watching very, very carefully, as much as they were informed about the final details of how this all went down. And I think what Reza was saying before was very, very interesting about how Adam Gadahn has been suffering a falling out of favor, if you will, with al-Qaeda's leaders, because it certainly wouldn't be the first time that a group had sold out an uncooperative member. And it seems to be such a coincidence today that this latest video by Adam Gadahn, his 25-minute rant against the United States and others, has sort of the end of the day, the beginning of the day is the news that it's released a video, and within a few hours we find out that he's been captured. To imagine that those two things aren't linked would perhaps stretch the imagination a little. But of course there's a lot more to learn, and really we're waiting for this final confirmation, if you will, from US officials that Adam Gadahn has been captured. Many reasons one could speculate why we're not hearing so far, but of course the source we have at the moment, a Pakistani source, and to the information at the moment, looks good.
And you know, I have to wonder how this helps the Pakistani-U.S. relationship, because while Reza was underscoring the past couple of years, there have been a number of arrests. Prior to that, it became very tenuous. There was a lot of doubt that the U.S. expressed over how serious Pakistan was in this ongoing fight against terrorism. Might this in any way kind of mend or change the minds of anyone who felt a little apprehensive about this working relationship?
There's a lot that's going on behind the scenes here. Ambassador Richard Holbrooke was asked about this when he was in Islamabad just a few days ago. And he pointed to meetings back in October last year that Secretary of State Hillary Clinton had with Pakistani officials to allay a lot of their concerns, staying extra amount of time to sort of to make sure that there was a full understanding, to make sure that there was cooperation across the board. And also Saudi Arabia, we understand, has been playing a significant role. And Ambassador Holbrooke praised Saudi Arabia. He didn't specify what they've been doing, but we know that Saudi Arabia has a close relationship with Pakistan, that they can be an influential player, that they can have influence over certain figures who might be close to the Taliban, might be close to al-Qaeda. Certainly diplomatic efforts do appear to have been underway from Saudi Arabia. So there's a lot happening behind the scenes. But in that same press conference, Ambassador Holbrooke wanted to sort of hold back from saying, yes, what we've seen with this real uptick of arrests so far this year by Pakistani officials is significant enough for him to say, yes, Pakistani intelligence operatives are doing exactly what we want. Now, of course, he wouldn't want to say that publicly as well, because that would undermine the Pakistani government, who, again, are very, very sensitive to appear to be manipulated and a lackey of the United States. But Ambassador Holbrooke, it did seem to me, when I read through his words, the transcript of that press briefing he gave, that there was a little caution yet that people at his level remain to be convinced about exactly who Pakistan is rounding up, and perhaps why. There will be reticence there, because in the past these types of actions by Pakistan have sometimes also served their interests as well. And Pakistan has, as most diplomats are recognizing now, some very legitimate concerns and aspirations when it comes towards Afghanistan. And one of the efforts we understand that's underway behind the scenes is really to learn what Pakistan's bottom line is in terms of what it wants to see in Afghanistan, because that will also be a starting point for real talks with Afghan Taliban in the future.
Senior international correspondent Nick Robertson, thanks so much. We know you're going to be sticking with us there from London momentarily. We understand the president of the United States will be emerging from the White House late. The early expectation was he would be emerging about 45 minutes ago, but that was at the same time that this other story started to break, that the arrest of an American-born al-Qaeda spokesperson had taken place in Pakistan. So perhaps the White House revising or reshaping some of its thoughts. The president is expected to talk about the national elections in Iraq, but perhaps now, too, will be commenting on what has taken place there in Pakistan.